Domains add an additional level of complexity to our triggers. The domains kind of put a gate on our marble. They say, if you don't meet these criteria, then don't kick off the action. Anyway, let's go ahead and hop into an example to show you how this works. So I've very much followed the same structure that I provided you for the triggers before. We're going to use onSave to illustrate this, and we're going to say when we update the salesperson. If it meets these criteria here, it's going to kick off a code that's going to raise a message that says triggered. So if you've watched my videos on filters, a lot of this will make more sense. And if you haven't, I'd encourage you to watch those. But essentially, we have the option to have a before update domain and an apply on domain. What this does for us is it allows us to say, before this action happened, before we saved an update to salesperson, what did our record look like? And then apply on allows us to say, well, now that you've saved it, what does it look like? We can pass it through those two filters to make sure that we're only running our code on exactly what we want to here. So here's our scenario for our case. We have a new salesperson. We also have a key account that we want to test them out on. We feel pretty good about them, but we want to keep an eye on them. Okay, so we're going to have a filter on the salesperson and also the customer. So this is going to be our apply on domain. We're going to come into here, add a condition, and we're going to say salesperson is, so equals, and it's John Doe that we want to keep an eye on, right? And we're going to add to this and say salesperson needs to be John Doe. We have this all in place to say it needs to meet all of these criteria. And we're going to say that customer is equal to our good friends over at Azure Interior. Now stop for a second. I want to show you something cool with these domains. We can see right here that currently there are 0 records tied to John Doe and Azure Interior. We can click this button down here that says 0 records and see that our domain actually doesn't apply to any of the records currently in our system. So for the sake of having a good example, we're going to go ahead and look out here, Deco Addict. We're going to change this to John Doe. Okay, we're going to save this, and we're going to change our nice little domain here to Deco Addict. And now we have that one record, sales order 62. So make sure to click that button whenever you're creating a new domain. It'll help you see which records pass through your filter. Okay, so let's go ahead and test this out as it stands. So let's come out to our sales order here. We're going to change this back to Mitchell Admin and save. We see we didn't get our triggered here because it doesn't make it through our filter. But if we come in again and we go to John Doe and save, we do get triggered, which means that our domain is working correctly. So let's talk about our other domain, our before update domain. Let's think of a quick scenario for that. So let's say John Doe is guilty of stealing sales from Mitchell Admin. He's done it a few times before, and we want to keep an eye on him and make sure he's not doing that anymore. So that naughty John Doe, we want to know what he's doing. He's a great salesperson, which is why we're keeping him, but stealing sales is just not okay. So we're going to say the salesperson is John Doe when it's updating, and before that, the salesperson was not equal to John Doe, because really, it's not just Mitchell Admin he could potentially be stealing sales from. It's all of the salespeople. So here's Sneaky John coming through. Comes through, and he sees this is sold by Mitchell. Mitchell's not watching his back very well, so John comes in and says, ha, this is mine now. Comes in, tries to save this guy. Oops, that's triggered. John is not going to be able to do this, but obviously this would trigger something else where we say, okay, somebody needs to talk to John. This isn't okay. So this is how we filter our triggers with these domains. Creating automated actions is a bit of a process, and we want to make sure we step through things carefully. So we would want to make sure our trigger's working, just in general at first. Then we would start to apply these filters, checking that the filters give us the records that we want. And then we'd want to try and trigger those, and then bring in the action after we're sure that our trigger is working properly. Thanks again for watching though, guys. Next time we're going to talk about our actions. We've gotten our triggers all figured out. Now we're going to get into what we can actually do with these. So stay tuned.